Welcome everyone to today's session, How to Build Multi-Product Banking Relationships. Let's get started. I'm joined today by Jenifer Piper. We're going to call her Piper because that's her nickname in this session. Jill Schaffler, Adam Westley, and myself, Laurie McLachlan. Piper is the Vice President of Member Engagement for P1 FCU. Jill is Vice President, Enterprise Applications at TruStone Financial Credit Union. Adam runs strategic partnerships here at Digital Onboarding, and I manage marketing. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that this session is being recorded. You'll receive an email tomorrow with the slides from this presentation and the recording. Throughout the presentation, you might have some questions. If you hover over the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A window. You can post your questions there and we'll make sure to answer them. All right, I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about who we are and how we help banks and credit unions. Our platform helps drive organic growth. We grow the value of your existing base. And if you think about the marketing funnel, there is everything you do to acquire new customers and members through acquisition marketing, marketing automation platforms, email platforms. You originate accounts either online or in the branch. And once those accounts are open and you have new customers and members, that's where our platform really has power. So we make sure that new account openers are welcomed and they adopt all the services they need to use their accounts to the fullest extent. We help support their transactions, things like lease renewals, things like that, transactional communications. Importantly, education, which is especially important in today's environment. People are really craving savings advice and products that can help them achieve what they're setting out to achieve. And of course, cross-sell, right? Once you've got the new customer and member in the door, we want to make sure that we can serve all their needs. And that's how our platform helps. And we're going to share some examples of that today. So today we're going to talk about strategies to maximize service adoption rates, increase cross-sell success, cut call volume and reduce manual work, make branch staff more successful, and give you visibility into what customer and members have and what they still need to adopt. And with that, I'm going to turn it over, to a poll first before I turn it over to Adam. I've got one quick question for you and we're going to reveal the answers. So I just shared the agenda. Check as many of these as you think apply to your institution and your priorities. What you're focused on. And we'll give it just a minute and then we'll share the data. Okay, so they're all kind of important, but particularly cross-sell rose to the top, and visibility. Okay, this is really good information. Thank you. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Adam Westley to continue the conversation.
Great, sorry about that. Couldn't find my mute button. Thanks everybody and welcome today. We're really looking forward to talking to you. We've got two of our amazing customers, power users of the platform. So looking forward to some of the insights they can share with you. Also got a little bit of a sneak preview of the Javelin report that we just released, and we're going to be talking more about in the next couple of weeks, but we'll preview some of that information today. And we've got one of our new service or adoption campaigns that came from our product team that we're really excited to share. So it should be a great session. So first, we just wanted to talk a little bit about onboarding and the complexity that involves it today, right? So, several years ago, it looked pretty simple, right? We needed to get people depositing their checks. We need to make sure they had access to online tools like online banking. Need to make sure they knew how to use their debit card. Maybe a few more steps, but that was pretty much it. Today, it's gotten a lot more complex, right? Like there's a battleground that's just far more diverse, right? We need to make sure that we know about those external accounts. They're, as Laurie uses the term, cheating on us with all these different relationships that they've got in the financial sector. We need to make sure they understand the rewards that we offer and how we can assist them in gaining access to those rewards and utilizing them. We need to make sure they understand about all the different payments that exist within their ecosystem today, subscriptions and other things. So the number of steps just has become far more complex, and also the number of the complexity and friction associated with them moving from one place to the other has become far more difficult. And it's really important that this works well, because it's the foundation on which we build those cross-sell efforts. Now, it's sort of a tough picture out there, right? We spend a lot of money at the top of the funnel, as Laurie mentioned, to acquire those new checking accounts, on average $350. And then as an industry, what we've really done, or most of the people who come to us on the first, when they first show up, they're doing PDF forms, they're sending basic emails, phone calls, but pretty insufficient for the digital strategy onboarding practices they're looking at today. And what's happening is now 25 to 40% of those accounts they open are just walking right out the back door. So they're spending a lot of money to lose money in these circumstances. Laurie, you got some comments here?
I mean, a lot of us came from a company that built the nation's first digital account opening platform. We understand this challenge, but it does seem like as an industry, we're really focused on making our digital application 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, only to dump people into a manual, slow onboarding process. So friction is definitely the enemy. And I wanted to bring Jill in on this conversation because we were chatting not too long ago about what a big deal it is when you introduce friction into a process where, a member is just meeting your institution. What are your thoughts on that, Jill?
Yeah, I agree. I spent a lot of time looking at our pipeline reports and analyzing where our abandonment rates are, which part of whether it's a journey or an online application. And it's so important that you are not asking, questions you may not need to ask, or if you're utilizing that data. But I find the faster a member or a customer can get through the process, the better success rate you have. So really removing that friction and giving them action items or tools to be able to complete those steps is really important.
Yeah, great advice.
Great. And so, yeah, we've spent all this money, time, and effort building a really cool top of the funnel process, a really great onboard or account opening experience, and then our onboarding kind of looks like it's pretty antiquated back in the 20th century. So, we need to step up the game there. And so this is where digital onboarding comes in, right? Our focus is on building a unique product that is out there in the market that's going to not only inform the user of the steps they need to take to start getting utilization of the product, but we want to make sure they actually have the tools to adopt those services, right? That's the main difference between a typical onboarding campaign that we see when we talk to a prospect versus one that our customers are running within our platform. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today, because it's the foundation on which we build those cross-sell efforts.
Yeah,
so
and
we
I
wanted
to talk to Piper just for a second there. I know that you're also focused on removing friction, and I wanted to get your opinion. You saw that slide a moment ago with the New Yorker style cartoon. Compared to a process like this, can you share your thoughts on, how it helps you remove friction there?
Absolutely. So we all are aware a lot of members want to move to self-service, right? That's what people are craving and wanting in really anything that they interact with. And the digital onboarding platform allows you to remove that friction, because you can allow them to adopt those services and products at their leisure, but in a guided, customized experience for them. So the beauty behind it and where it removes the friction is it doesn't matter what channel somebody's using. Their experience after the fact and onboarding is frictionless, because we put them in the driver's seat, and that channel, whether it was online or in person, they're all getting the same experience. So now our members have the ability to switch that e-statements or direct deposit and they don't have to sit in a lobby for a really long time to complete that. It's all in their hands.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. A good point about the branch, because you don't always know what they're leaving with when they open accounts there. What about you, Jill? I know, we talked a lot about friction, and you brought up SMS actually, and talking about how easy that's made things for your members. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, even with campaigns that aren't targeted for an SMS opt-in, for example, if we do an e-statement promotion or things like that, sometimes we see a higher number of members opt in fully verified for SMS, and we do the actual objective of the campaign. We have several different SMS channels, and we see about a 46% response rate from members when utilizing SMS. Most of them, that is their preferred channel of communication. So
Yeah, good point. We see that across our platform, actually, with all institutions. People engage with text messages far faster and at a far higher rate. And obviously, we can help you get that opt-in as well. Thank you so much.
So let's talk about a couple of the other major features that we help you get your users to take advantage of. So first off, direct deposit, obviously a really important part of primacy. Where that check goes is likely where they're transacting, right? So we want to make that super easy. Within a couple clicks, we can help them move that direct deposit. We'll show you this in the demo here in a second. We want to talk a little bit about one of our customers, CU at Texas, who started utilizing this, and there's really a couple different pieces they wanted to use, right? They wanted to use that direct deposit widget, but they also wanted to use our secure personalization. What they found is they got 375 more direct deposits than before they were running the program. So a great result. For those users who can't make it through the widget, so they live in a rural area, so they work for an employer who's just a smaller organization, doesn't use a payroll system like that, they still need access to information in order to move their direct deposit. They're going to need to know the routing number, address, account number, and usually this is a point of friction for them, where a lot of people just give up in that process of switching financial institutions. So making it easy and simple with the ability to securely expose that account number with some lightweight authentication can make a real difference. And we saw that at P1 FCU. So at Piper's organization, they were able to get 60% higher direct deposit enrollments just using that secure personalization. I know your population is a little bit rural in some places, right? So we've got some people who probably don't have those large employers, maybe not using a Workday or an ADP out there in the market. So a great result there. Everybody wants to get more card utilization, right? Where you're using your debit card, obviously there's benefits from the interchange revenue, but also it's a really good indicator of stickiness, of primacy, right? Where they're using the debit card is likely where they are transacting more often. So we want to make that super easy.
I just wanted to pause on that just for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry to butt in, but so this is the difference between telling people what to do and helping them do the things. You can email people till you're blue in the face and tell them to update their card, but that's not real help. And I wanted to bring Jill in to talk about that, because we had a conversation about the difference between communicating and helping someone with respect to this widget. What are your thoughts?
So we all know, we all as consumers get bombarded with marketing information. Half the time I read them, half the time I don't. I'm more likely to engage in something that makes it really easy for me to complete that objective. So we originally had card on file in our new like checking promotions and things like that. Not great success there, which Digital Onboarding did kind of advise us we were going to see this. So recently we've launched any new members who have been issued a card, I think it's 5 days past that, we provide the card on file journey for them for all of our card types. We're also a little unique where we offer cross-channel engagement inside our digital banking platform, where we've partnered with Digital Onboarding to display the digital onboarding journey, and that is available for our signature members right now. So if they're not seeing campaigns in other places, they're seeing it when they log into digital banking. So all of our campaigns for all of our cards we're launching launched last week, I think we saw 7 enrollments on card on file in like the first 3 days. So we're very optimistic that that is going to continue to grow.
Great. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Laurie. So one of our customers, Deseret, was able to really use this widget alongside doing some bonuses and some incentives. So what they ran as a campaign to get users to switch over subscriptions and put their card top of wallet at some of these major retailers. They get offered a cash bonus for every single one that they did, up to $100 if they got 5 switches, and they saw a 40% increase in online debit spend. So this is really important. Tying those rewards to those actions can make a huge difference. If you haven't seen recently, we've been talking about our upgrade to our platform that's going to give us the ability to tie into these rewards vendors, which will really help us do those incentives in an automated way. So some exciting stuff coming down from that. We also want to make it easy for them to do those decisions like e-statements and courtesy pay, things that are really important to the financial institution, right? So if we need them to make a Reg D decision, or we want them to sign up for e-statements, anytime we ask them to go take a subsequent step or leave the journey, we have the risk that we lose them. So we want to make that super simple and easy by putting it right in the journey and using our enrollment widget to get those enrollments. Great example, OCCU Credit Union. This is for indirect members. They wanted them to sign up for e-statements. They wanted them to get access to their digital tools to make sure they could set up payments. And they really utilized these different tools. They got a 50% higher adoption rate than they did previously, just sending out communications to them, both in paper and email. So awesome result there. We also want to make it easy for them to get access to that mobile app. So all of us probably have a link on our website that says, here's the link to the Apple Store, here's the link to the Google Play Store. The issue with that is I'm on my desktop right now. I don't want that that way, right? Like I actually need to get access to it on my phone. So our platform is smart enough that when you're on your mobile device, it'll just have an install now link, understand what device you're on and send you to the right place. But if I'm on my desktop, I need tools like sending a text message to myself or maybe scanning a QR code. Again, just ways to take out friction. Laurie?
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out, Adam earlier showed you that secure personalization feature where we can reveal someone's account number. That also helps people enroll in digital banking, right? And I know that TruStone has seen some success here. I know a lot of institutions assume that if a customer or member hasn't adopted digital banking, they're not a digital user, but you proved them wrong. Do you want to talk a little about that?
I will. So the concept was behind this is not just to use digital onboarding for promotions. I wanted to see basically reusable campaigns running all the time. So we had the thought, hey, what if we try to engage members? I think they had to be a member for like 60 days. Let's try to get them to enroll in digital banking. Let's market our existing features. Let's, market new features. Digital engagement is also a corporate goal for TruStone. So this fit really well into that. So for digital, we ran 3 targeted campaigns, 1 initial campaign and 2 retargets. And we saw over 5,400 new individuals register for digital banking, 2,000 new e-statement users. We also decided, let's try it in an active digital campaign. Kind of like, we missed you, here's what maybe you've missed. Out of that, we got 957 new e-statement enrollments just by reaching out to them through digital onboarding.
That is an awesome story.
Yeah, I love that. Those members that everybody thinks are just never going to use the digital channel, getting those to engage is such a great story. Jill mentioned this really briefly. We do have the ability to incorporate these journeys directly into digital banking. This is a feature that I absolutely love. So many of the institutions I talked to today have a fintech strategy to go out there and get lots of fintechs and plug them into digital banking. The issue is a lot of those are single use case widgets, right? And it's getting really crowded on that dashboard. What we're able to do is surface up the right fintech at the right time to deliver the appropriate message, right? So if I've just opened an account and I don't have direct deposit's really relevant to me. But if I've had direct deposit for years, that is really not an important factor. And I'm probably going to get rid of that widget and take it away and never be able to find it again. So we can contextually change this, what is showing to the user. And I think it's a really important story. All right, let's take a quick look at the platform. I'll take you into a demo. Okay, so let's take you for a tour of the platform. So when we have a new user sign up, what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to them again via text and email. We can also deliver these guides directly into digital banking, as we talked about. Within this guide, really what we want to do is we want to welcome them to the organization.
Adam,
And we want to.
we're still seeing the slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. You see the right thing now?
Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
good. Okay. Sorry about that. So again, this first email is going to welcome them to the organization and take them into that guide. So when they click here, it's going to take them to that personalized guide. First, we just want to get them started, educate them on what we're actually going to have them do. In this case, the institution is going to offer a reward of a $100 cash bonus for completing this whole entire guide within 30 days, because these are really important steps to getting that primacy in place. So we'll walk down the journey here together. A couple things to note. We've got this progress wheel up in the corner that's going to gamify that process and keep track of that. You'll notice in today's demo that's not going to advance because I'm not completing the actual steps, but in general, when I do complete the steps, you will see it progress. We can also change that from a monetary element to just a regular advancement along the path of the steps. And we can also, coming up in a really a release that's coming up really shortly is going to give us the ability to tie that rewards component in that I talked about as well. We want to make sure they know how to reach out and get contacts, so they have this information down here. My contact information. They also have the ability to incorporate your chat function, which will allow you to get access to a human, say you get stuck or run into a question. So the first thing is to get that opt-in for text messaging. Jill mentioned this previously, so let's make it super easy. Enter your mobile number right here. When you enter that and hit submit, it's going to send me a text. I can then confirm ownership of that. And now we've got consent to sending them text messages. Really important channel that we can use later. With direct deposit, we want to make that super easy as well, right? So we're going to explain some of the benefits of them. We can give them that information, you know, the address, the routing number. We can also give them the account number just in case they want to do it that manual way that we talked about, or they work for that smaller employer. We've also got that widget that we showed you really quickly, where it gives them the ability to tell us who their payroll provider is. Maybe they tell us who their employer is, or if they work in the gig economy, they're probably going to have multiples of these. So they just make it super easy, username and password, and we get them logged in right away. For online banking, want to make it easy to enroll, we'll direct them right to that online banking step. We can also expose that account number like we talked about previously, because they're going to need that in the registration process. Again, this is a point of friction when you're in between that account opening process and moving into the digital channels. If you don't have that account number, typically you've got to call the branch, or sorry, call the call center, go into a branch, or maybe wait for a piece of paper to show up in the mail. And if you want to take that action right now, typically that's a big point of drop off that we see with a lot of organizations. For the mobile app, we talked about it. Let's make it super easy. Let's put that cell phone number in there, send them that link, or just scan that QR code, and we'll take them right to the right spot. For e-statements, we'll use that enrollment widget that I talked about. Again, it can be used for lots of other use cases. We'll talk about a couple of them later in this slide deck. Here, we're going to use it for e-statements. So let's have them enter their information, say they want to do it. If you notice, I'm unable to hit submit right now because I haven't yet completed terms and conditions. So we just click terms and conditions, make sure that they do that step, come back, and we're able to collect that consent. And then we can deliver that right back into the systems you have, digital banking and cores, with some of the API webhooks we've got.
And just a reminder, that same widget can be used to let a customer or member accept any pre-approved offer just with an e-signature. So it's a really flexible widget.
Yeah. We want to make sure they get access to make those card switches really simply as well. We talked about this one briefly in some of the slides. So making sure they get, lots of transactions going through Amazon these days, all those subscription services like Disney and Netflix, the ride sharing apps like Uber, maybe even Venmo for some of those payments that they're making. So making sure we get your card at top of wallet is super important in this process. From there, they would just enter the username and password for those individual services. And again, we do the work to place it at the top of wallet for that user. And then just make sure they know how to reach out, right? We talked about having some of these channels and capabilities here. This is a great use case for, say, you've got a small banking relationship or a corporate relationship, and you want to make sure that they know who their banker is, making sure that, and you can embed a picture here of that individual so that we're reaching out and they know who to go to. All right. Let's go back.
Adam, I just wanted to point out one other cool aspect of all of this is these guides are dynamic. So if Adam and I both opened an account today, but I was an existing customer and he wasn't, he's probably going to get all the steps and I might only get a few. And as I complete the steps and come back to this guide, it's going to look different. So we're always focusing people on, what they specifically need to do.
Yeah, great point, Laurie. All right, so we took a look at the platform. Now let's get into the cross-sell efforts, right? How do we take that foundation we've built, getting that engaged member or customer, and how do we drive them into those different cross-sell products and do it intelligently? So part of this Javelin report that we posted in that chat we mentioned earlier is really talking about these different groups of categorization along the spectrum of engagement. So you've got your inactive members on the left-hand side, all the way up to your fully engaged members on the right-hand side. You see kind of the typical stratification inside a financial institution. Obviously, as you move from left to right, they get more engaged. But remember, at the top end of the market, they're still pretty fickle, right? They make these decisions every day: what card to pull out of their wallet, what P2P service to use. So we need to make sure that engagement doesn't just stop after the onboarding. It has to keep going over and over and over again. And that's why when we talk about onboarding, it's a whole lot more than just that first 30, 60, 90 days. And the results speak for themselves. Like once you have that foundational, fully engaged member, the cross-sell efforts go through the roof. So, and these are the products that actually make money for the financial institution, right? Auto loans, mortgage, and credit card are the main drivers of some of that profitability. And so we want to make sure that those are the products and services that we have the ability to cross-sell, but it's really built on that engaged foundation that we have to work really hard to ensure that we deliver and then maintain.
Yeah, I wanted to add deposit only and loan only relationships are a strong signal of disengagement. So if you're trying to cross-sell and your cross-sell efforts aren't working, it's because you're trying to sell to people that don't know you. But once they're engaged, you'll see how much easier it is.
Awesome. And when we do those cross-sell efforts, we want to make sure that it's not just a one-size-fits-all or the spray and pray technique, right? We want to make sure that we leverage the data we've got. So as examples of that is using transactional data to identify that we've got a customer who's, say, shopping at a home improvement store, and maybe we offer them a HELOC, or maybe we look out into the market with our credit bureau and we look for some intent data around mortgages. And when they see that out in the marketplace, we present an offer in front of them. Remember, these users don't necessarily know all your products and services, despite all the work that you do to make sure that they're educated on that. Sometimes when they're in market, they're just making a decision based on what they have in front of them. So if we can find out that information, what they're doing, anticipate that need and get in front of it, it's really important. We can also just ask them sometimes, right? So what we found with a lot of our customers is just asking the customer, like, what are your financial goals? Like, are you looking to buy a home? Are you looking to retire? Do your kids, are your kids getting to that age where you need to start preparing for college? Asking those questions is really, really important and a great way to do it. And then following up automatically is what our platform does. So as those answers come in and say, I want to buy a house, maybe you send them a journey that talks about the importance of a FICO score, how they get it pre-approved for a loan, what that buying process is going to look like, and the type of information they need to collect up. So Laurie, you've got some comments?
Yeah, with all the talk of big data and AI out there, don't get intimidated. When in doubt, just ask people what they need. There's plenty of rock star marketers that employ this strategy. And I just wanted to bring the panelists in to talk about this. Piper, can you talk about how you're leveraging this for cross-selling at your institution?
Absolutely. So what really resonated was your don't spray and pray, right? So the survey widget is a cool tool, and I'll kind of share how we're using that next. But what I want to share is when we talk about cross sells, the biggest thing is number one, who's your ideal customer or member profile, which, you know, old days, we had to go have somebody pull a report and mine that report. And with the platform, that data is all there for you doing the work and mining it. The second thing is, what's the lift for the member? Members want it to be easy, or customers want it to be easy. And so the platform provides that as well. So you get the data and you get the easy lift for the member with the enrollment widget. Surveys particularly are some amazing data because they allow us to look, we're using it right now for end of loan. So if somebody's getting close to paying off their loan, we want to know what's next for them. And then we can take that data and retarget. And that might be a human interaction, that might be an additional campaign. But really, the only person who's going to tell us what's next for them when they get ready to pay it off is them. And a lot of times we wouldn't see those members. So these survey widgets give us firsthand interaction with that member that we may not see because they don't come into the branch or call over the phone. So we can get that actionable data without having to do a ton of lift, and then we can action it from there. So from my perspective, the cross-sell potential in here is endless using the different tools. It's just first identifying what you're targeting and then who's your target ideal member or customer.
Awesome. That was fascinating. I even learned some new stuff there. I just wanted to ask Jill to give some advice and experience around cross-selling.
Yeah, I think it's important when you bring in new tools to not always rely on how you've done things in the past, right? We know that there are members that still like that in-person interaction, but on the digital side, the data really drives how we know our members. And it's important to be able to see, you know, in digital onboarding, I spend a lot of time looking at where they're dropping off in the journey. Is there something wrong with either that marketing or, you know, action step, and be able to change that almost instantaneously when we're talking about campaigns, being able to understand what our target is. We don't need a data team to pull that analytics for us. We can do it right in digital onboarding. So it's so important. And you know, we also don't want to bombard our members with things. So if you're in this, you know, maybe if we're trying to get you to enroll in direct deposit, I'm not going to put you in a digital campaign, right? We know this is the one we want you to be in right now. And one thing that I didn't mention before when I was talking about digital, and we did something similar with direct deposit, we did not offer incentives for any of our existing members to enroll in these services. We simply sent them a digital onboarding campaign.
Yeah, I loved when you told me that because I think marketers can feel a lot of pressure to put cash bonuses in front of people, but if you make it easy, you probably don't have to bribe them to use your products.
Laurie mentioned this earlier, like we definitely want to make those cross-sell efforts as easy as possible to accept, right? So if we have the opportunity to get that consent right there within the platform, within that journey, it's amazing use case. And what we saw was we had one of our customers, large credit union, going after those indirect members. So now this is a typically very unengaged segment, right? Normally they're coming in, they're rate shopping, and they've got a loan, and they've got another financial institution they're working with. But what we want is we want to get that primary financial relationship, right? We want to have them move more products to us. So what they did is they ran a campaign going after targeted cross-sell offers for credit card, personal loan, and checking account, depending on the user. Used those emails and microsites and embedded that sign up right there so that they could take action immediately. And got 13% more to adopt products. Now, typically when we talk to people in the indirect sector, we're talking 1 or 2% adoption rates. So this is a huge change over what we typically see. All right, so now we're all trying to do more with less. Everybody's being asked to do that these days. So reducing volume, call center volume and manual work is a really important part of being successful in our platform. Not only doing the things it does and sort of engaging the members and also doing those cross-sell efforts, but it can really help take some costs out of the business as well. So let's talk about a couple of those things. Some common drivers we hear all the time, things like, issues with their cards, like needing access to their account number, being locked out of a system. Maybe they've got questions about something specific around a loan, or they've got a dispute or a transaction that they were unaware of. I just want to make those things really easy. So what we can do with the
Could I add something onto that as somebody who oversees the call center as well? Cards are like the #1 reason people call in, right? So this, just to share a journey that you could use this for, is more of a proactive approach. Do you have a wrong address? And they have a card that's expiring soon, so it's going to probably go to the wrong address. So reducing that, kicking that off, and now the members have a proactive way to update their information, which is going to significantly reduce the number of calls related to cards. I just wanted to share that, as I think it's super impactful, the number of calls that go through a call center and how we can hedge off some of those with the tool.
That's a brilliant suggestion, and that's also applicable with M&A. So the last thing you want to do is acquire a bunch of customers and members and realize you can't communicate with them because their data is bad. So good call out.
Yeah, no, much better than what I was going to talk about anyways, Piper. So I love it. Yeah, I mean, these alerts can definitely reduce call center volume, and they're also just good member and customer service, right? Some of these things, like alerting somebody of a low balance, or saying, hey, you've got these CDs, they're about to expire. What do you intend to do with them? How can we help you take actions on those? Are just important use cases that we can do to both cut that call center volume, but also just make sure that we're providing good service. Laurie mentioned this, like system upgrades and M&A has become a really popular use case for a lot of our customers. A lot of people are coming to us just for this use case alone, just to start with, because they're really struggling in these efforts. Obviously, there's a lot of information that those members and customers need to absorb. There's dates, there's specific applications that they're going to have to log into, different mobile apps. Maybe they've got to delete one and change to a new one. Maybe they need to make sure that some of that information is correct, like Piper was talking about. There's all kinds of friction wrought in this process, and they just, they need to be reminded at various steps. And so we see a lot of people utilizing our journeys to help guide them down that path and remind them on the specific days. Here's an example of them. It's really just about communicating. And we did a webinar on this a while ago. And I think the best advice I heard on there is, like, if you think you communicated enough, you haven't. Like, you need to over communicate from what you think you need to do. We all live busy lives, and people, see these messages. If it's not relevant to them at that specific time, a lot of times they ignore it. And there's a lot of data to support that. So just making sure that we make this easy and keep reminding them is a really important part. And on those use cases of cutting out call center volume, one of our customers, Leader Bank, who is a very large mortgage lender, has a significant escrow practice. And what they found is that they just get bombarded at the end of the year when they send out escrow statements, because people just don't understand the process. They don't understand how an escrow works. They don't understand how they estimate what the fees are going to be. They don't understand how to pay an overage, and they just don't understand the document. And so they ran this campaign to really educate them on those different options that they had to true up their balance and what escrow is all about. And what they saw was almost a 50% reduction in that call center volume just on that topic alone. So huge win for them. Now, we talked a little bit at the beginning about unifying those different channels, right? And making sure that the digital channel and the in-branch channel is the same. A lot of that has to do with making that branch staff successful and giving them tools that they can use, just like a member would use or a customer would use in a digital environment when they're self-serving. A lot of people move to the universal banker concept, and it's a lot to ask, right? They have to be an expert on all your products and services, how to run any transaction in the branch, and how to be able to talk to any different product or service. on top of the fact that they're opening accounts and maybe walking somebody down that initial journey and talking about that initial, sort of relationship building effort. And we see a lot of turnover in those channels. People are leaving the branches and you're having to hire new staff and retrain them. So the idea behind our platform is really to give them a digital tool that they can help with. And I know, Laurie, you wanted to talk a couple
I
things here.
did. I wanted to bring Piper into this just because of where you're at in considering a universal model. And I wanted to invite you to share your thoughts on that and also on staff incentives.
Absolutely. So in my career, universal model has been used. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. As Adam referenced, it is a lot for one person to know, especially in larger, higher traffic areas. It's not usually as successful as in smaller, traffic areas or slower traffic areas. I think that there's a blend out there that's natural. So as we look to grow as organizations, you find the right blend for that geographical location that you're serving and the community you're serving based on traffic. Because again, based on volume, universal can be a lot. However, what we can do to support them is by giving them this tool and knowing what's going out and knowing what the member is going to receive, it reduces the amount of effort that employee has to remember and put in and what site to go to and what should I say here, because all they have to know is, Mr. Member, Mr. Customer, watch out for this email. Here's what it's going to have you do. It'll walk you right through it. If you have questions, give me a call. That's a much different conversation, shorter, more efficient than having to remember each of those different channels and steps one by one. As far as incentives go, one of the biggest focuses for us is active checking. So it's not just checking acquisition because that costs us. It's the actual activity that goes into checking, which we saw earlier that new member onboarding supports significantly, right? Getting those members activated so that they're using it. Each of our branches, regardless of what position you hold, and the call center included, they're all responsible for activating the checking accounts that they open throughout the year. And that has been a big shift for our teams to focus on how often are we calling out? How often am I reminding them about this digital onboarding journey they're going to get and what they can do? The positive note to this is we have seen a significant increase in what our activities are supporting that digital onboarding. But again, very little lift and efficiency from the branches because they're simply just needing to remind them that the journey is coming. If the teams meet goal, we do have an incentive at the end of the year based on their percentage. And if they go above it, there's hurdles and it's based on their annual salary.
Brilliant. I just wanted to comment. I know when I first heard about this, I think I was cheering and screaming on the phone. It is so important that you're bonusing people on active account ownership, not just for opening an account. We know what happens when that happens. So brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that story. So cool. And, like we talked a little bit about this, but, when you're opening an account in a branch, it can seem like an arduous process. A lot of institutions have spent a whole lot of time and money and effort building a really slick digital channel and then have a pretty inefficient in-branch channel. And I know it's a major focus for a lot of folks. But by the time you're done with that, you may just not want to spend any more time in the branch and you want to leave. What we find with the journeys is it gives the banker the ability to have a conversation to say like, hey, if you look in your inbox, I just sent you an email, I sent you a text message, you've got that guide. If you want to, I'm happy to walk you down the path right now. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. Like you can take it up anytime later, you'll get access to it. You'll be able to finish those things. So making sure they have that. Plus, we all have bad days, right? So this is a human-based element. If people are walking into the branch, I'm having a bad day, maybe I'm really busy and there's lots of things going on and I've got multiple people waiting. I may rush through that onboarding experience for that customer and I may not have a great, they may not have a great impression, but if I give them that journey, it's going to be pretty consistent and allow them to get the same type of service everybody got. So.
Can I mention?
Yes, I was just going to bring you in. You go.
So I'm actually in technology. So having to build those relationships with our frontline staff, corporate goals and things like that, really kind of promoting we're in this together. right? Here's what you're doing on the front line. We're asking you to sell, 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 but here's where we can pick you up. If you don't have the opportunity to spend that much time with this member, or they're rushing out, we're going to pick it up with digital onboarding and maybe not miss all those opportunities. So for me, it was really important. It's not a digital versus branch. We're in this together. We want to serve our members where they want to be served and how they want to be served. So we found great success in that. Just remind people they're not fraudulent emails. We had a little trouble with that at first. So
That's great.
We want to make it automatic, right? We want to make sure they know they have those channels. We want to trigger those events. So it's not just about that initial interaction. It's not just about that initial email. The whole platform is built to remind the user to come back and take those actions. Now, if they finish all the actions on day one, we'll stop reminding them about them. Maybe we'll enroll them into a new journey. But it's an important thing to call out, because when people typically run an onboarding program, it's pretty fixed, right? It's, hey, we're going to send this series of emails over the course of the next 30, 60, 90 days. And even if you did everything we asked you to do, you're still going to get the email. That's not the way our platform works. It really does have contextual information around, like, whether they're completing the actions or not, and only reminds them to do the things they haven't completed. So we want to gain visibility also into, like, what's happening. And we also want to be able to report up into the organization, like, what we're being successful about. So one of the amazing parts of our platform, and some areas we've spent a lot of work in the last few months and years, is really about, like, how to define that value. So, like, can you see what's happening in our platform? Like, what objectives are being completed? Can you see, like, who's opening what emails? Jill mentioned about, like, finding drop off in specific areas and then tuning those campaigns to make it better. But also, like, can we benchmark you against other financial institutions, so you see, like, how you're performing in specific aspects? Maybe you think you're doing really, really well in a specific area, but when you look at the rest of the platform, people are doing far, far greater. And on those cross-sell efforts, I think this is the biggest one: calculating the value contribution that you're driving for the organization. So saying, when we open up a credit card, it's going to drive this much revenue into the business, and I can walk into the office and say, hey, I've got a report here that shows I opened this many credit cards, got this many people to do that, and here's the money I brought into the organization. That helps you build that ROI and that use case, so that you can get people to move forward and support this.
Yeah, and I wanted to just butt in here a little bit. As a marketer, I'm on a mission to save bank and credit union marketers from buying their own platform. And to me, that means one that has a flat data model. So most marketing platforms use flat data models. They're totally great for e-commerce, but if you work at an institution where a customer or member has multiple products, and you're trying to manage those relationships, see what they have, what they don't, and target them, you're probably going to be spending a lot of time importing that data and trying to make it usable. And so I kind of wanted to talk to Jill, because I know you spend time in insights and analytics, and you have a pretty disciplined process for optimization. Can you talk about what you're able to see in there and do with that data?
yeah, so I actually track every one of our campaigns or journeys we send out. I look at adoption on every one of our objectives, kind of trying to find the formula that works. I know I talked about before in our initial launch of our checking promotions, we had card on file. That did not work. One, you don't want a journey to be so long that it's so cumbersome. Like, every day they're trying to get through an objective, right? I look at who completes objectives. I've actually looked inside our digital banking platform to see if it was legit. We were getting such great numbers, and it was legit. So that's amazing. We look at, reminders. If we want to run a shorter campaign, how many reminders is too much to send them? Is it every 5 days? Is it every 3 days? I spend a lot of time in the Insights platform because it gives us such valuable information. Better open rate through digital onboarding than we do our traditional marketing platform for emails and such.
That's awesome to hear. And if you're not at an institution as sophisticated as Jill's, just know that we've got a whole team here behind you that can help you launch these campaigns. Piper, I saw you nodding. I kind of want to hear what you have to add here.
I was just going to add with Jill's in the analysis of it. It's the insights are a really great way to do persona testing. So if you're endeavoring into personas for your organization and you want to understand how are they best going to communicate and what are they most attracted to and engaged with, the insights do a beautiful way of presenting where you can target them most to really validate and build some of that persona data into journeys.
That's a really smart idea.
Great. So Laurie talked about just being able to see like what are those service adoptions and also seeing it, across that data model. So many people are doing that flat data model where they don't understand the relationship of that they actually have with that member or customer. And it's really important to be able to run those campaigns and also not to remind them to take actions that they don't already need to do or they've already completed. So we can automatically trigger those campaigns and automatically trigger those cross-sell campaigns like we talked about before. We can deliver that content directly into those digital banking platforms, make sure that we're giving them the information at the right time and not giving them information that's not relevant to them. So we got one final poll question and then we're going to do some Q&A.
Yeah, we're almost to the Q&A. So one more question for the audience. This one's just for us. Are you interested in a custom demo or meeting with us to see a campaign example for your institution? If so, just check that box and we'll reach out. Everyone's enthusiastically voting. We'll give it a few more seconds. All right, thank you very much.
All right. So don't just take our word for it. We've got 96% customer satisfaction rate, over 140 financial institutions out there using the platform right now. Love to, like Laurie said, show you a demo, walk you through the platform, and hopefully get to a point where you want to be introduced to one of our clients and have a conversation. So with that, I'll turn it to Laurie. We can do some Q&A.
Yeah, so the questions are flowing in, but before we get to those questions, I just want to ask first Jill, just any parting words of wisdom or advice for the folks on the line.
If you are not a digital onboarding customer, I strongly advise you to have that demo, schedule the demo. Digital onboarding, I've been in technology for 25 years. This is my favorite vendor relationship. We have biweekly meetings with the team. I mean, we rely on our strategic manager so much. It's just a fantastic platform and the possibilities are endless, and really think outside the box.
Wow, I'm glad I asked that question. What about you, Piper? And you don't need to just, any advice or words of wisdom that you'd have. And thanks for that, Jill.
I would just say as you go to tackle your goals, right, they can be really big. Put them into bite-sized manageable quarters. Focus on acquisition, activity to drive growth. And I will give the plug for digital onboarding. Don't try and do it all yourself the old-fashioned way. Really partner with those vendors that are going to support you in managing those quarterly goals and truly making incremental progress towards your big goal. And digital onboarding is one tool that, from a consumer perspective, I'll take out from the vendor to credit union perspective. From a consumer perspective, I've received the journeys. They're easy, they're friendly. I can do it on my own. I work here all day long. I don't want to do it during the day when I work here. So it gives me that flexibility. So think outside the box, think about partnerships, and then tackle each quarter at a time instead of one big massive goal.
Outstanding. Adam, I'm gonna read off some questions, and there's a few that kind of all relate to integrations. So have you already looked at them? So I can read them out loud.
No.
Oh, go ahead. You go.
Yeah, I did. So we've got a couple of them in here, just sort of asking about integrations with specific vendors and also just like in general. So I'll talk about in general to start with, and I'll kind of like mention some specific integrations. So in general, platform is very, very flexible from a data model. Really what we need to know is a unique identifier. So we need to make sure that we can identify in each individual. So we have a very flexible data model where for some customers getting data directly from the core only, other customers are supplementing that with lots of other information. So LOS systems, online account opening systems, digital banking systems they can add to. We also have a lot of customers moving to like a data lake concept or a data warehouse concept. We're getting a lot of data from there. As far as the individuals, I noticed people had asked some questions about CSI, Scimitar, and some of the other cores. We have customers on all of those cores that were mentioned here, both Scimitar and CSI. With Scimitar, we've got a pre-built integration that we monitor today. Some of the LOS systems don't have a pre-built integration there, but do have a lot of customers sending us data from there. The other one was a question about the digital banking platforms that we've integrated with. So to answer that question, Jill and her team are on Banno, and that is live with them. We also have customers about to go live on both Alchemy and Q2. So those are being released shortly. This is a relatively new feature. We launched it sort of late last year. So you'll see a lot more come online over the next few months.
Great. Okay, and if there's any follow-up questions on that, just ask. Are any of the onboarding steps completed through self-paced education or exploration of the website and features? So this person is asking, we showed a lot of examples where the campaign objective was direct deposit completion or e-statement enrollment. This person is asking, where the objective is just they clicked through and read the content and got smarter. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, so, I mean, there's lots of ways to complete an objective, and you get to decide what the completion condition is for that objective. In some cases, it may just be viewing the page. In other cases, you may put a checkbox at the bottom that says, yes, I confirm I did read this or I did view that. So that's sort of that self-paced exploration piece of it. Other times it is actually completing an action directly in the page. Like if they're doing that enrollment widget, like we will actually know that got completed. There's other objectives like, logging into digital banking where they may have clicked on the link to go to that registration page, but you may want to confirm back to us that that actually did occur, that they actually got into digital banking. So that's an example of one where we'd have a slightly different condition. So just know there's lots of different ways to complete an objective. It really depends on the objective that you're going, and it doesn't have to be the same for every page.
Yeah, and I want to butt in a couple more things about objectives. That's another thing that makes our platform unique. It's only built for institutions, and you all have a lot of common goals. So the fact that we have some of these standardized objectives lets us read across the platform and tell you if you're doing better or worse than your peers. But you have the ability to create custom objectives anytime you want. So I just wanted to make that comment. All right, next question. Sounds like it might have come from a marketer. What time frames have you found most effective in sending follow-up emails and texts? Do they receive in both channels, or are they client-driven channel preferences? I would love.
I think I'd ask Jill and Piper to answer that, right?
Yeah.
Jill, do you want to go?
Sure, I can go. Our initial notification for new members coming on is next day. We get our information fed from Scimitar. So once that process is updated in digital onboarding and sends out same day, then we wait another 4 days to send them a reminder. And again, digital onboarding will track where they are in their journey. Our campaigns typically run 30 days. So we'll go like 5, maybe 10, and then maybe 17 again. And, kind of space those out towards the end if they haven't acted on them yet. Shorter campaigns are usually every 5 days. Text is probably the better way if they opt in. We all know most of us reply to text versus marketing emails. So anytime they opt in, that's the channel we use.
I would concur with what Jill said as far as the timing. We have a couple campaigns that we've ran a little bit longer in active checking. So that's one to try and prevent dormancy. So it's a proactive approach. That one runs a little bit longer with a little bit more frequency in how often we reach out. But in general, it's usually a 30-day, with several texts, several emails if they haven't completed the objective.
Yeah, I'm totally with you that speed is key and reminding people is key when people are coming in the door. There's one other place that I just wanted to stress immediacy, which is digital application abandonment rate. Whatever your vendor's telling you, I'm telling you, your abandonment rate is definitely north of 65%. And those people are not going to come back unless you immediately retarget them. And we can help you do that. So that's a scenario where seconds really matter. And I've proven that in some other organizations. Okay, I think we're down to the last question. This sounds like a great platform for personal banking. Can you customize the options for business banking? You should have said that everything you saw today is customizable, not just the steps, but the way it looks, the way it, the fonts, the colors, the images, it will all look like you. But Adam, do you want to speak to how the same platform can help grow your business banking business?
Yeah, so we have some great use cases for small business and business banking and treasury services. Same kind of objective applies, right? So we need to make sure that we're reaching out. We need to make sure we're informing them. Some of those features that I showed are really important in that area, like binding them to that personal banker, right? So that they know who to reach out to. Most people do not know who their banker is. Even small businesses and corporates do not know who that is. So just continually reminding them and making sure they know about that. And then again, walking them down that path, right? Like there's so many different services that we need to educate them about. Maybe it's merchant services. Maybe it's just them getting an understanding of what positive pay is and what their options are there. So same kind of concept applies, and definitely we run journeys for businesses, banking, and treasury management all the time. So
yeah, and last thing I'd add, Adam's right. Most people don't know who their business banker is. That little feature that I don't know if you remember, but on the personalized microsite where he should click to email my support person, in the business banking world, that bar can turn into click to call, click to schedule a meeting, or click to email, and it would be your personal banker. So it's built for that. All right. Well, I just want to thank our panelists, Jill and Piper. It was wonderful having you here. Thanks so much. Adam, you're always a great MC. And thank you to everyone that came. Know that we've got another webinar coming up on the 14th, and that's one with Javelin Strategy and Research. You can go to our website today. You'll see a place to register for that at the top of the homepage, but you can also download the report. It's free and it's jammed with good data. So thanks so much, and we hope to see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.